Let's think about this hoteling beach model. And we didn't get to do this in class. I did have it in the exam 4 study packet and talked through it with some of you in my office hours. Anyway, this is a 1 mile beach. And we assume first the basic model is that there's people distributed evenly across the beach. That was supposed to be a couple of dots, not a straight line. And that people go to the ice cream seller that's nearest them, and we have 2 ice cream vendors that are competing for each other's business. And let's just assume that we'll call those A and B, and let's just assume that A starts here, just because I'm going to show you why having both of them located at the midpoint, mile 0.5, is the Nash equilibrium. So if the first stand A is just at some point that's not the center, well, it's in the next stand's interest to locate just to the, in this case, to the right of them, so that all these people here will go to B's stand instead of to A's stand. So B gets more than 50% of the market. Well, of course, A's not, they're competing for business. A's going to want to fix that, and A's going to jump over B, B's going to jump over A, and so on. The only place where these these two would settle and not want to change would be, we'll call this AE for the equilibrium point, equilibrium location, BE, equilibrium location. That's the prediction. That's the Nash equilibrium of this model, given these circumstances. So let's think about this case that's in the problem. Same beach, but now what do we assume? We assume that people are again spread evenly on the beach. But now let's say these people over in the leftmost 25, quarter mile, they only want to go to a ice cream stand that's near them, and if there's a far one, they'll just skip the ice cream. All right. Well, now what's going to be the effect of the Nash equilibrium? Let's just assume it didn't change and see. Let's think that through. Let's suppose that both vendors were at the middle, and what's going to happen? Well, now notice that ice cream stand to the left has a smaller clientele than the ice cream stand to the right. So what's going to happen is that ice cream stand to A is going to jump over B, and things are going to settle out again where A and B are located in the exact center of the spectrum where people actually travel for ice cream. So this new equilibrium, when the people on the left didn't participate, in this case didn't vote, the midpoint voter ended up being further to the right. And so the political analogy here is actually, it's no accident they picked the left. We see in the United States elections, we see people on the left, whether it's Ralph Nader, Bernie Sanders, the candidate that appeals to them, when they have this candidate that's far to the left, they vote and get active. But once there's a centrist candidate, they're like, Ralph Nader famously called Al Gore and George W. Bush Tweedledee and Tweedledum. These voters are just they're all the same. We're not going to participate. Well, what happens is then that the political center, the relevant political center, moves to the right. So ironically, the left, by not turning out to vote, causes the political outcome in the country to shift to the right. And a lot of people have seen this. I could tell you, having lived through it, the political center in the United States has shifted far to the right from where it was in the 70s. A lot of people think this is maybe Watergate. People lost trust in the government, never regained it. In any case, Ronald Reagan ran very much an anti-government campaign, and won and was very, very popular. And ever since, there's been a government. Even the Democrats that have been able to win have shifted way to the right. Bill Clinton was a fairly I'd call him a centrist, but he's to the right of what the Democrats would have elected. On environmental policy, he's very conservative. Trade policy, he and George H.W. Bush had pretty much the same policy. President Obama ran on a fairly moderate campaign. Actually, his reputation was otherwise, but he kept George W. Bush's policy in Iraq and Afghanistan largely intact. Anyway, the political center in the U.S. has shifted to the right, and we have seen this lack of participation on the left, while Republicans year after year, election after election, do a whole lot better job than the Democrats at getting their voters to turn out and vote, and that has consequences.